That state in which the mind is free from its characteristic movement of thought, and which there is only the experience of peace, is known as deep sleep in wakefulness. So its characteristic movement of thought is really the thrashing about of the attention, that looking for some kind of satisfaction which drives the attention on. And once you're free from that, once the mind is resting in pure consciousness as pure consciousness, in which there's only the experience of peace, it's known as deep sleep and wakefulness. The states of dreaming, waking and deep sleep are generally spoken of as figuratively. Wakefulness being the assumption of an external physical world, the dream state being the state of assuming that there's an individual self. And here we've got the state known as deep sleep and wakefulness. When somebody's in deep sleep, it's very hard to rouse them. They're not going to be woken up. And so this deep sleep and wakefulness is somebody who's no longer getting attached to things. They can still be involved, but they're not getting attached to believing that their notions are essentially true. He who is in it lives a non-volitional life, freed from every type of mental distraction or distress, unconcerned with a short or a long life. So a non-volitional life means that you're not caught up with the notions of being a doer. You're not doing things with the hope of some kind of personal fulfillment. You're just doing things that need to be done in order to satisfy the demands of the situation. Every situation makes demands on us. When this same state of deep sleep in wakefulness matures, it is known as turiya, or the fourth state. So that's interesting, isn't it? Or let's make a point of acknowledging here that it's not about reaching a once and for all state. The naive understanding of spiritual enlightenment often assumes that you can break through into something and that's it. You're there, you've made it, nirvana, bliss. But what I've stressed before is that liberation is a practice. It's mentioned as such in the Buddha's tenfold path, right liberation. Once you've touched this absolute truth, the absolute nature of your own being, once the attention has attended to itself, which is actually no big deal in itself, it's very easy to do, although it might be quite tricky to do as well. Some people might be a bit flummoxed by it for quite a while, but it probably happens quite a lot and in the course of a day and you're not even aware of it. But once that's happened and you realise what's happened, then that's when spiritual work, spiritual effort begins. That's when you have to keep coming back to it. It's when you have to keep coming back to that light switch. And eventually, what we could call the gravitational pull of the objects of the world or notions of an external self, that pull gets weakened. We're no longer caught up in what was described as the utter vanity of the objects of this world. We're no longer caught up in their glamour. And that can be described as turiya, fourth state, which is beyond wakefulness, dream and sleep. Firmly established in that, the sage perceives the universe as if it is a cosmic playground and life in it is a cosmic dance. That's what you do, that's the way to engage with things. That's the way to get involved with things. You play the game, you play it seriously, but realising it's still a game. Utterly free from sorrow and fear, and from delusion of world appearance, he who is established in the turiya does not fall into error once again. He is forever immersed in bliss. Well, certainly, there's no room for negativity. He goes even beyond this to the great inexpressible state of supreme bliss. That is considered the state beyond even turiya, incomprehensible and indescribable. Well, it's probably best not to say anything about that, but what I think this is just a safeguard. When we talk about these things, like turiya, there isn't really anything beyond it, but in talking about it, we make a notion about it, don't we? We're making it into an object of discussion, which we shouldn't be doing, because it's not an object that can be discussed. It's something which really can only be realized. And that's what we have to look beyond. So we won't even talk about what's beyond, because it's what you have to actually realize yourself. Vasishta continued, "It may be possible to put into words the state of one who is liberated while yet living, which is the state known as turiya, or deep sleep in wakefulness, or the state of total freedom." And this is one of the doctrinal distinctions they make in Hinduism about being liberated while yet living, the jivanmukta. But we don't need to get into that distinction, because we're beyond distinctions of living and dying, or life and death. The great debate is, or the debate is, whether you can be truly liberated while you're still in a body. But that's ascribing too much importance to the notion of a body. The state beyond that, which is the state of those who have transcended body consciousness, is not for words to describe. This is the state beyond turiya, O Rama. O Rama, strive to reach that. And I think this chapter covers this doctrinal distinction between enlightenment with a body and enlightenment without a body. It's a distinction which we can rise above, or rise beyond, or simply drop.